Thursday morning. Thanks again for tuning in and watching this live video. Again, I just want to remind everybody to make sure you hit the like button and ring the bell and subscribe to New Image College's YouTube channel. As discussed today, I'm going to talk about all things color theory related. I think that this is a very important lesson to always kind of revisit. Color theory is something that is essential for a makeup artist to know and kind of wrap your head around. It's a subject that comes up in our work every application we do, from beauty all the way through to special makeup effects. So it's something that maybe in learning when you first discovered it, you took a little bit, but as you keep learning, you kind of take a little bit more and more, and again, it's a lifetime study, so it's something that you're not ever expected to fully understand in an hour lesson. But, you know, I'll go over some important things that I think are really valuable, and you'll take what you need, and you'll come out with maybe 2 or 3 new things. And you'll be reminded of a bunch of things as well. A lot of you took makeup fundamentals years ago, or maybe even just last month, but things when you're first learning, some things just don't naturally hit until maybe you do something else and then you hear about it and everything kind of comes together and makes sense. So again, it's really good for us to get a good grasp of this. It's so helpful in everything we do, from color correcting, color mixing, determining undertones. It helps us into what to determine in what we're going to use for application in eyeshadow, lipstick, blusher. It helps us also to create something visually stimulating in editorial or on runway, working with colors and what goes with what and what you know, brings things out. So we will get further into it. But you know, it does take a lot of the guesswork out of what we're doing, and it also makes us understand when something isn't right. I know I've done applications in the beginning of my career, and it worked really well on somebody, and I thought that they had the same coloring, and I did the same thing, and it didn't look quite right. It didn't look as good as it did on that first client that I did it on. And that's usually because the undertone, I didn't get the undertone right, or maybe the eye color was a cooler blue instead of a warmer blue. So those are things that we need to kind of diagnose when our client sits in our chair, so that we can proceed with a very you know, comfortable makeup application in the eyes of both me as an artist and your client. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with the traditional color wheel. And I'm going to have Amir bring up that photo. There's going to be a photo that's going to come up. And this is just basically the color wheel as we know it. We've seen it so many times, but we're just going to kind of review just for the sake of reviewing. These are all things you will probably know. So first of all, we have our primary colors. And that, of course, is red, yellow, and blue. Sometimes people I've heard in studying that green is one of the primary colors. We're going to not go there today. I think that is not in our case when we're studying under makeup artistry, but it does kind of go into more of the arts, in computer arts and all of that, that green kind of come into that. In this case, in our study today, red, yellow, and blue are the primary colors. So these are the colors that cannot be created by mixing other colors. They stand alone. They can be mixed to produce other colors, like our secondary colors, which we'll talk. And they can mix most all other colors, especially if you have both black and white. You can also see that there are secondary colors. The secondary colors are orange, green, and purple. So obviously we get orange from mixing red and yellow, we get green from mixing yellow and blue, and we get purple from mixing blue and red. So those we all know. We've learned that years ago as a kid. Now we get into the tertiary colors. And the tertiary colors are the ones that lie between a primary and a secondary. So their colors, it can kind of go from, if you're mixing, obviously, if you look on the color wheel, you have red, and then you have yellow, and then you have orange in there. It's a tertiary color is a red-orange, so it's mixing, again, a primary and a secondary together. So there's lots of those combinations on that color wheel, and it shows you right there. They're also called intermediate. So we have our red-orange, we have our yellow-orange, yellow-green, blue-green, blue-violet, and then red-violet. So those are our tertiary colors or intermediate colors. Okay, thank you. You can pull that down. So here's my color wheel here. I have one that I have used and had forever. I used to have another couple of layers on it so that I could really, you know, it had the little windows. That's obviously come off in its time with me, but I can still kind of get a good idea of sort of what's happening in the wheel. So what I wanted to talk about with this is just to show you, it's the same sort of color wheel that I showed you earlier. The outer ring is all of the colors that we just discussed. On this side of the color wheel, we have all of the colors here, and then these are you taking a shade here and mixing it with black. So you can see all of these are basically shades of the primary color. So these shades are, when you do mix a primary color with black, it makes the color a lot richer and a bit darker but fuller. So you can see in all of the way that this looks, as we go from the outer ring in, these colors are a lot more rich and deep in the way they look. I flip this around, and these you can see, these are all tints. So we've got, again, the outer ring, and the outer ring is the primaries, and these are the primaries mixed with white. So when you add white to a color, it creates a tint. So tints are a lot lighter and more, a little bit more subtle. And you can really kind of tell a little bit more about the color when it is mixed with a white or a black. It gives you just a bit more range in what you're wanting to create, and it gives you a lot more adaptability to certain things, and gives you a lot more power with your colors. So again, a tint is a color plus white, a shade is a color plus black, and you should also know that a tone is color plus gray. Tones are equal parts black and white, and they make more subtle versions in the colors as well. Another important thing to know is that there are warm colors and there are cool colors. This is a little bit hard for a lot of people to understand where the division begins, and there's a lot of mixed sort of feelings about this. So I tend to think on my color wheel that when we start with our red-violet, that is kind of when it starts to become, or red-violet, it starts to become warm. So they, on this color wheel, they divide it straight down the middle. So they say that red-violet all the way to yellow, a warm yellow, these are your warm colors, and these are your cool colors. So when you think about warm colors, you think about bright, passionate, energetic. Those are these colors. This side, the colors are a little bit more calming and soothing, and they kind of create that sort of feeling. That's generally what they represent, and each color individually represents something even more. I tend to kind of bring my warm colors down. I think that a green-yellow can be a little bit warm. So I tend to think that this line is a little bit blurry. As well, here I do agree with that this is the start. Sometimes I feel that this does have a lot more of a blue in it than a yellow, like of an undertone, but that is just for another story. So a lot of color wheels you'll see they kind of do, they kind of have less cool colors and more warm colors. So we also have our olives. And our olives kind of lie in the houses of the yellow to the yellow-green. So our olive skin tones are sort of in this section here. So that's kind of the general study of a color wheel in warm, cool, primaries, secondaries, tertiary colors. So that's kind of something that you probably all know, but obviously sometimes we all need a reminder. So I just want to talk a little bit about a few products that you should have in your kit to help you sort of kind of with the next thing we're going to talk to. So I'm here just going to bring up photo 2. And many of you have seen this product before, probably all of you have seen it. It's the Makeup Forever Flash Color Palette. This is something that I think everybody should have in their kit as a makeup artist. The color range is just amazing. And what you can do with this is a lot of like color correcting, but it's the colors are really opaque. They're highly pigmented, so they last a long time. And you can also use it just directly on the lips or as a cream blusher. It's so versatile, so it's something that I think is really essential in the kit, like in your kit. You see all the primary colors there. So you've got your red, orange, and your blue. And you also have variations, like you've got a nice, beautiful peachy color, which is really great for neutralizing blue, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So that's a really good product. And the next product as well that's also a good one, that's been around a lot longer, is the next photo of me. It's the RCMA palette. And it has, again, it has less color range, but it's a traditional one. Sometimes oldies are goodies. This has your blue, red, and yellow, of course. It's got kind of a more of a mustardy, warmer yellow. And then you've got your white and your black. So you can take every color from that, right? So you can make your yellows, your red, oranges. You can make all of these colors just from those 5. So that's a really great thing to have in your palette. Now these colors, these palettes that I'm showing you, thanks Samir, are palettes that are something that you're not using the color, you're actually mixing into things. So you would say take somebody that has a situation of, we'll kind of get back into that color theory in a bit. I just want to talk a little bit about complementary colors first. So complementary colors are colors that are opposite on the color wheel. So obviously we've got red here at the top. The opposite of red is green. So when you mix those colors, you will get a sort of a grayer, sort of murky kind of color because they neutralize each other. When you place them next to each other, they are high contrast, very eye-catching, and very visually stimulating. So that's something that you should know. So when you're thinking about visual, you're thinking about if you're doing a makeup that you want to be strong and bold and striking, you're going to think a lot about what colors you're going to use. You might want to be using, yellow and purple in your scheme. You might want to use yellow and purple, but maybe you want them tints because you don't want it too strong. So maybe you'll use something that's more of a pink with a like a lighter red, which is pink, and then a lighter green into the mints, and maybe use that combination. It's still going to be very catching. The other thing that we use if we are thinking about neutralizing, and I think that when we neutralize a color, we're going to actually take the color and say, for example, your client sits down and you notice that they have a lot of red in their skin. Maybe they have some rosacea. Maybe there's just some pigments of something going on. You're going to take a bit of the opposite color and try to neutralize it. Now there's ways you can go about doing it, and I've seen many makeup artists do different things, but I would determine what foundation was working, and then I would kind of separate it, make kind of 2 piles of the same, and I would actually mix a bit of the opposite. So maybe if they were a bit red here, I would take this kind of hue of the green and actually take a little bit from my Makeup Forever Flash Palette and mix it into the actual foundation. And then I would take that foundation and stipple it on top of the areas that are red. And then I would use the regular foundation again all over. So you're just using a bit of the color to see, and you'll notice straight away that it will neutralize and actually pull out the redness in the skin. There's a product I use a lot in my kit, and just because I find that red comes up a lot of men have it, so instead of using my Flash palette, which is expensive, I would get a product like this. I did talk about the Nano Blur. It comes in a few different shades, but I always have the green in my kit. This is something that I will always put on a man because this also takes out some of the shine, so it kind of is a 2-in-1, and it takes out the redness. So I would not use this directly on their skin. Again, I would mix it in a foundation and pop it on all over, neutralize it, and then I would powder as usual, and then they're probably pretty good to go. You probably wouldn't need to go in a lot, unless of course it's a hot summer day and you're outside. Then maybe you would have to go in again. Also do touches, after lunch per se, and then that would kind of save you. But this is really excellent for red skin, any kind of red skin. Again, now back to the color wheel. Another thing that you're obviously going to color correct is blemishes. And again, blemishes would be more of a spot treatment. So maybe that is something that you would go in a little bit with your concealer and mix in a little bit of green from the Flash palette I would use, just because it's a little bit more opaque. And then I would go in and selectively reduce the redness per spot. I would never want to put it in a full area. That, if you do it overboard, you will create sort of a dully looking base. Anytime you have a base that is not going, you've not used the right shade, it will look dull. When it comes to foundation, if you put a cool tone on a warm skin, it will look dull. And you'll notice it. It's not going to brighten the complexion. It's actually going to do the opposite. It's going to make it more sallow, and it's just not, you'll notice it. I've told so many of my students in the past that if you do something and you're like, that looks weird, listen to yourself, because you're right. It probably does look weird. It's your intuition saying, whoa, this is not how I intended this to go on. And then stop there and remove it. Don't go on and keep trying to fix it, because then you'll just waste time and you'll get stressed out, and sometimes the more makeup you do to correct is just going to make it look really odd. So again, back to color correcting. Color correct what you need to, but not around it. So if the blemish is, a millimeter by a millimeter, don't go a millimeter or a half around just in case, because it's going to bring out that the dullness is going to go around the actual spot. So make sure that you're really precise when you're placing your colors, when you're color correcting and trying to neutralize. Another big area that we neutralize, and you guys all know, is the under eye circles. Under eye circles are sometimes really hard to determine because they are either kind of a gray bluey color, or they're a little bit purpley pinky. There's so many different kind of, depending on the skin tone on top, they're either darker or lighter, and you just really get good with practice. And again, I'm going to show you another color wheel is going to really help you as well. So when you're thinking of something that's a bluey color, and say for example, we'll look, and you can look here and think, okay, you know what, I see sort of maybe a little bit of this happening in that area. Maybe, and obviously go a little lower, go a little more this way. So you're going to look directly across, and you're going to notice you need sort of this color to counteract. Again, you want to make sure you're being precise. Purple is a very common one to have under the eye, a purpley pinky color. You're looking on the opposite, again, it's green. So you want to make sure, or even yellow. So sometimes we go into more of this range as well, and then you can do your yellow. So you've got to sort of think and mix be able to start mixing colors that work. And that's why the flash palette is so great, because you can take your concealer color, separate it, put some concealer where the skin is good, because maybe you're going to pull the concealer up, and just try to cover up in this area, just to lift up the eye, but you don't need the corrective color here. So you are using a lot of different shades when it comes to doing a makeup application. So maybe when you're taking out your concealer, you do 2 piles, and then 1 pile you put in the color that you need to correct the problem, but then keep the other color to kind of just gently, you know, pull it back out to lift the eye up again. So those are really important things when it comes to color correcting. I do have another photo, and that's photo 4. So Amir, can you pull up that, and can I see it up here? Did we get that sorted? Because I can't remember which one came first. I didn't highlight that in my notes.
The 2 eyes one with Michelle. Makeup by Michelle.
Oh, okay, yes. Okay, no, that's great. Okay, so this is now going into complementary colors. So the complementary colors we have here, you can see what is happening. The eyes are blue. So when I've talked about color correcting, and we'll talk about that again because I have a slide for you with that, but we're going to go on to this right now. So when you're thinking about complementary colors and bringing out certain features, the eyes are the one thing that we kind of go to. So if you look at this example here, eyes are blue. What's opposite of blue on the color wheel? Orange. So they're going to take this blue cool color and they're going to put a warm orange all around it to make the blue pop. And it works. You can look at that picture and you think, wow, that is it brings the colors out. Her eyes are bright, and you can definitely notice the contrasting sort of idea. The next photo we have is the same idea but with a different eye color. So we have a green eye here. Opposite of green on the color wheel is purple. So you can see here that the eye really pops again, because the eye we have is a very beautiful green color. It's a very cooly, or it's kind of a warmy green, kind of a yellowy green. So we've got a bit of a cooler purple eyeshadow to bring out that eye color. And then our next one we have is a brown eye. And then the brown eye, sorry, that image is a little bit smaller, but you can see that the eye is being brought out. That brown really pops because of the purple. Brown eye colors are always a little bit tricky because, you know, you think blue. Blue is kind of an easy eye color, opposite orange. Peaches always look great. Eyes colors that are green, again, purples always look fabulous on that eye. Again, we can also go into browns with either of those eye colors. For a blue eye, an orangey brown looks amazing. So it doesn't have to be so bright and contrasting like the picture I just showed you. Again, with the a green eye, purples always look nice, but a green eye can be quite warm, and a warm brown again can look quite nice as well on a green eye, or a taupier brown. Maybe the eye is a bit warmer. And then brown is always kind of like, oh, I don't want to use just brown. I want to use a color. Purples always look nice with brown. And if the eye is really, really like a warm brown, you could use oranges and orangey browns, and those always look nice. So if you have a blue eye, there are 2 types of blue eyes that you'll have. You'll have a warm blue and a cool blue. So a warm blue eye is going to have orange flecks in it. So if you have a really nice blue eye and there's orange flecks in it, it's kind of warm, so it really loves orange colors. If you take a blue color eye and it has gray flecks in, it's more of a cooler blue. So it actually looks good, again, with oranges just because it's the complementary color, but you could go into more taupes with that eye. It likes the cool browns. It's fine with them. So think about that too when you're looking into eyes. Green eyes. You can look at green eyes, and some green eyes are really kind of almost like, they can kind of almost look hazily brown, or they kind of take on different variations depending on what the person's wearing. Look into that eye and what colors do you see? If you see oranges and in the green, or browns, like warm browns, then you know it's kind of more of a warmer. So you want to use warmer purples maybe, or you can use cooler purples to bring out the eye. So there's a lot of variation, but that gives you a really good starting point on where to begin. Brown eyes are the same. You can get a brown eye, and it's a very cool brown. It's like more of a chestnutty brown because it doesn't have, maybe it has darker brown flecks, or maybe it doesn't have very many flecks. You can also get a brown eye that has orange flecks in it, so it's kind of more of a warm, light brown. And just working with those, you kind of look and see, well, there's orange in it. Well, maybe a nice blue would look good on a brown eye with lots of orangey flecks. And maybe you don't make that as your primary, like blue all over, but maybe it can be a subtle, like pop in the eyeshadow. It doesn't have to be a full-on blue eye. Maybe a nice navy eyeliner with a brown sort of soft eyeshadow. Just think about using a little bit more color. Try on yourself too. Look at your eyes. Look at your mom's eyes or your friend's eyes, and look at them when they're talking to you, and kind of go there and see what eyeshadow would look really good, you know. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. So try things out on friends. You know, it's a service to them that they'll be happy to have anyway. And you may as well try some new colors and get comfortable with that. So the next photo I wanted to show you is called it's color correcting, and we did sort of talk about this a little bit, and this is the next photo of Amir. Can you go to actually the next one? Perfect. So this is just kind of the basics that we already sort of touched on, and that is that yellow cancels purple tones and calms mild redness. Yellow can also help with redness. Green we use a lot, and I've always, when I choose yellow or green, I always think about the undertone. So if I'm working with somebody that I know has more warmth in their skin, I might choose to put yellow to neutralize, because the green might be too cool. If the person has a cool undertone, then I would use the green to neutralize. So that's something just to kind of keep in mind. So moving on, green, it cancels redness, and it's great for acne and breakouts. So there's a lot of red in the skin. You might want to use green instead, and then warm this person back up if they become too cool with a more of a yellow-based foundation, so it'll kind of counteract. Pink. Pink brightens dullness and dark spots on light colored skin. So you don't want to use some pink. Think pink. Pink is red and white. Red is warm, but when you add white to it, it changes it and it becomes quite cool. If you put a bit of orange in there, like a little, then it will warm it up a bit and make it more of a salmon color. So salmon colored pink can be considered a bit more warmer than a cool pink, which is just a red plus a white. So there's a lot of experimenting in all of these different colors. Then you've got purple. Purple neutralizes dull yellow undertones. Purple is good for those skin tones that are a little bit olivey, but sometimes they're a little bit more, like in the winter time, olive skin can kind of go a bit greeny, sort of, like more, not greeny, more yellowy, like it's like a kind of a very dull, it will look dull. And then the purple actually really brightens it up again. So that's something that I like to have in my kit as well. Purple comes in handy, as well as peach. Peach is the dark circles on light skin. Orange is best for medium to dark skin. So remember what you're working on as well. Peaches, all the light colors are better, obviously, for the fairer skin tones. And then as we go into the more medium to deep skin tones, you do want to go more lighter, and then even adding a little bit of black in some cases, just to bring out the richness. And that's something, again, a little bit of that black is like a little, it's like a touch. It's just to kind of deepen that orange, if you want to, just so that it goes on a little bit better. All right, and then we go back to that other one, Amir. I put it in the wrong order, sorry. So this I just wanted to show you about the cancellation of neutralizing. So the photo is of a green, so yeah, yellow and purple. If you mix the opposite. So it has to be the opposite. It can't be like a light purple and a mustard yellow. Like they have to be actual true opposites. If you mix the true opposites together, they cancel each other out and create more of a very neutral shade. So think about that. If you're canceling out a purple under eye area and you're putting the yellow on the top, it creates a nice skin shade, and that's what should happen when you're color correcting. Again, blue and orange, they do the same, as well as red and green. So that's just to kind of show you true values of each do cancel out. So if you can recognize the color that you're trying to cover up, and you're like, that is a pimple, but it is more pink. So I'm not going to use a full-on green, I'm going to use a mintier green so that it actually cancels it out. So you have to think in terms of that too. Also remember that warm and cool cancel. Like a cool purple and a cool yellow won't cancel. You need to have one of them be warm. So it's warm and cool because those are opposite. So think about that as well. Okay, so where am I with this? All right, so what I wanted to talk about next, and this is just gonna make your day. It's, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Terry Tomlinson. She created this color wheel, and it's pretty amazing. So she's taken all of the work, she's a veteran in makeup artistry, and she is, has spent years doing many faces and was kind of like a makeup artist before makeup artists even talked to each other. Old school makeup artists were in a trailer by themselves, dressed in black, they hid, they didn't talk to anybody else because they're on set alone. Nowadays, makeup artists talk all the time. We're friends, we ask about this, we ask about that, we share our information. So the old school makeup artists and hairstylists, they gotta stick to themselves just because that's how it's always been. But anyways, Terry made this amazing color wheel, and it actually shows skin tones against the primary, secondary colors here. So, and there's tertiary colors as well. So the outer ring is it represents our medium toned clients. Then you have the second ring, and the second ring shows it's your ring of tints, and it's for your fair, lighter skin tones. Then you have the third ring, and the third ring is for the deeper skin tone clients. And then you've got your traditional color wheel. So looking at this, you've got your olive skin tones here, and you can see that. You've got all the things that you sort of need to start learning. This wheel, I think, is like $12.99. You can get it on just type in Terry Tomlinson, and we can talk about this at the Zoom. I can actually give you the link tomorrow if you want to look for it. I would totally use it and learn it. It's something to have in your kit. Super valuable just because it will help you kind of get started, and it can kind of be confusing as a makeup artist in the very beginning of just figuring out skin tones. You think all olive people are the same. They're not. There's a cool olive and there's a warm olive. It just depends on what you're around a lot. And then sometimes, you get really comfortable doing the people that you're used to doing and the skin tones that are, pretty prevalent in your areas, and then something else or some other person comes in and you're like, whoa, I've never done this skin tone before. And then you have that little freak out. You can pull this out. You can be like, okay. Because also the way this works is once you determine what it is, you can use colors on either side. And opposite colors. So you know everything. You know what you can contour with, you know what you can highlight with, because it's all for you worked out. So if we can look at my skin tone, and if you put it up, I know a lot of the times when you guys do skin tones, you kind of assess a lot is easy just by looking at the vein. Right now you can look at my vein and it's blue, and blue means I'm cool undertoned, and that kind of helps you, gives you a bit of a guide. And a lot of people have green. So the green, if their veins are green, that means that they are very warm. What are you, Amir? We'll diagnose you after. So that's a good way to start, and that almost gives you a little bit. But again, sometimes you can't see the veins. They don't, maybe they just don't have veins that kind of are close to the skin. Or maybe they're deeper set. So when you're looking at this color wheel, you'll just take the color wheel and you'll just sort of move it along, and then you'll wait and you'll sort of find that skin tone. Look there, that's yellowy orangey, or orange yellow. That looks a little bit, but it's still maybe a bit dark. And then you can kind of move it around, and then maybe, is it more of this violet red? I think it's more of a pinky undertone here for myself. So if that is my undertone, which makes sense, I have veins in there that are blue, so cooling. So this is my opposite. And I do use a bit of green in my applications because I do have a little bit of redness in my skin. So that does help to neutralize it. So my colors that are really good for me are here, all in this area, because the two colors, the intermediate colors, are also really good for colors for your lips, your eyes, all of those sorts of things as well, because they're really good for your skin tone. And then as well as these, as well for neutralizing. So you could use all variations of this in your skin base. So you can use your contour in here, your highlight. So maybe I would contour with my true. So if I've got this undertone here, maybe I'd contour with this. Maybe I'd highlight with this. Maybe I'd use this, this would be my true color, or not, would be, this is my true color, but maybe I would do, even this kind of looks a little peachy, maybe I'd use this as a neutral blusher. So it's always like a good starting point. Again, different lights do different things. Maybe you think oh, I don't know if you're really that, Keely, I think you're more of the yellow-orange. I run a bit neutral just because I do have freckles, and the freckles kind of warm up my cool base. My eyes are really cool, my undertone is cool, but I can get away with a bit of more warmth just because of just the freckles that are from the sun, so it gives you that little bit of more yellow in your skin. So I could probably go for a little more of this as well. So I could be considered a bit neutral, a bit trickier, but also a little bit easier because more works. Other people are strictly cool or warm, and that's something that you have to recognize. So this is something that I would really recommend that you guys, if you're really kind of feeling like I panic, I just don't, I'm not, confident enough, this will give you the confidence, and you can do a great makeup application. Also, your client will be really interested in it too. If you pop this out and it's like, I'm just gonna do a quick check, and just to make sure that my thoughts are right, and then you pull this out, and she'll be like, oh, and she'll just have fun looking at it too and seeing what really works for her. It also is a conversation starter, and then from there on, you're just like, I know exactly what to do now. Now I know she's cool, so I'm going to use cool blushes. I'm going to use this on her lip, blah, 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 and you can start thinking about that. Another thing too that I always have with my artists that have kind of trouble is have like cool and warm palettes. Like have your warm eyeshadow palettes, just all the colors there, are warm. And you can look at your back to this color wheel and look and be like, where does that eyeshadow fall? Is it in like whereabouts? And if you have both of these, you can probably come up pretty strong with kind of figuring out what should be in your cool palette and what should be in your warm palette. Foundations you can divide the same, and you can even, a lot of them even do that for you. I know Makeup Forever helps you out, giving you yellows and reds, I think. And a lot of other companies have charts and things that you can go on, just print them off and put them in your case too. So all those little things can help you and take the guesswork out of it and make things a lot easier for you. And as you do more and more faces, you're going to learn more and more and more. So again, you always learn. I learned more when I was doing this, putting this little presentation together for you guys. I was just like, oh yeah, that's right, that trick. Because you just kind of get started doing other things, and I've been doing a lot more hair lately, as most of you know. So I've kind of been out of makeup, not totally, but just not doing it near as much as I had in the past. And I was like, oh yeah, that trick. That's always been a great trick. And color correcting is everything, you guys. It's something that you just need to get good at, and it will make a beautiful makeup application for yourself. So study it, and you will be happy, and because you're learning. What else did I want to say? I wanted to talk a little bit about actually olive skin tones. So olive skin tones, it's kind of again in that area of sort of the yellow, green, blue areas. So you want to like kind of understand that the green, blue olives are really cool, and then the warm olives are quite golden. So that is something that you just really have to look at. And again, when you look at somebody that has olive skin tone, are they golden or are they more like an olive, like that greener sort of? And then if they are, then they're cooler. You know how to go and work with that. So that's something too with the olive skins. Again, two multi-dimension foundation applications, so you could put your base all over and go in specifically in specific areas for what is needed in that area. So that is very helpful. And yeah, I think that that's sort of kind of all I'm going to touch base on in color theory, because it's kind of a lot to digest, but I think I've kind of informed you guys of a few things that maybe hopefully are new to you and that maybe you can benefit from. So again, I want to go back to sort of our complementary colors when it comes not to physical, like blue eyes with an orange shadow, like we talked about and I've showed you. I want to go into more of the visual. And this is going to be the homework assignment that you're going to do. So I thought we should do something more fun and a little high fashion. So I wanted to bring up some photos just to talk about some complementary makeup color schemes. So the first photo we have here, it is a blue and orange combination. Blue on its photo 9, I believe. Yeah. So this is a great high contrast makeup application. Complementary colors. We have a beautiful orange lip with a beautiful blue eye. That is a direct complementary color. Now what you can do on your homework as well is do it, which is also very flattering and high contrast, is doing a split complementary or an analogous combination. So the next one, photo 10, is of that. So instead of using the blue and orange combination, they've gone and used kind of a blue-red. It's kind of purpley blue, but not quite. I think it looks more bluish, but they're kind of doing it so it's split complementary. So it's going off to the either side. So when you have your color wheel and you've got, say, red here, and you're using a blue lip, you can use sort of other colors here. So it would be the opposite color, so I'm just going to get a straight blue, and you can actually go across and use orange, but you can also use yellow orange and red orange in that, and those are the split complementaries, and they work really well together too, and that's a good example of that. And then the next one we have is actually of tints. And this is a kind of an interesting combination because they've not used like the intense primaries, they use tones. They use a lot more pinks and yellowy greens, and that is a great example of something that's also complementary, but not your true traditional complementaries like red and green and blue and orange. These kind of go a little bit. So if we've got that, the girl on your right has a kind of a pinkyish lip, and then it's kind of going opposite into the mintier sort of eyes. As well, split complementary with that would be going into the, I don't know how it's coming up on your screen, it came up on my screen pretty minty, but here it's looking a little more yellowy. So again, sort of going opposite, but kind of keeping in that one area of split complementary. So you can do this as well for your assignment. So bringing you back to the assignment for this week, we're going to go into hair pretty quick, but I did want you guys to do a complementary or split complementary high fashion fun makeup for your assignment. Again, these are great examples of what you can do, but there is a lot of freedom, and I want you guys to just kind of have fun with it and play around and come up with different things. We all have the time to do that now, so this is a good time to start doing this as well. I always welcome, if you're finding that you'd rather do it on a face chart, for this would be fine, but I would want you to do, I would prefer you to do it on yourself, just because we always learn on our skin. You just learn more with blending and what actual colors work. But if you don't have the right colors of an ID you want to create, if you want to do a face chart, I welcome that as well. Okay, so this brings us to the hair component of our video, and I wanted to do sort of nothing really too intense today. I've done a lot of intense hairstyles, and I just wanted to give you guys a break. So I wanted to do the wet look. Sometimes when you're doing a makeup application and you're doing a high contrast makeup, you don't want to be doing this crazy hair to go with it. Sometimes it's too much to look at. So I tend to go softer with the hair if the makeup's being pumped up. If the makeup's neutral, and you can always go a little bit crazier with the hair when it comes to editorial. So we're going to kind of go on the editorial side of things and do the wet look on our lovely, this isn't Molly today. This is, what did we name? I can't remember what we named this one. I'll have to go back and see. Molly slept in, so she was ready. So I left the braids in her hair from last week because I kind of wanted to have a little bit more texture. So I'm just going to quickly take those out. I wanted to have the back a little bit wavy in this look, but I also can straighten it if I really want to, but I didn't want it bone straight. I just wanted a bit of texture, which is turning out quite nice. I'm going to just take out the other one here. The wet look is kind of popular right now. I think that a lot of artists are doing it. I saw it a lot at one of the award shows, I can't quite remember, and it was just nice because they actually had beautiful fresh makeup, and then they just kind of, well, we all remember Kim Kardashian's wet look, but other people have been doing their versions of it. All right, so you can kind of take the hair and just sort of kind of get it how you want to go. I want to have it go straight back. Sometimes maybe you want to part and have the part on the side and have it more with the part. I'm going to do it the opposite back. So you're going to take your just some water here. I've got my curling iron as well, just in case I want to add something at the back. And you just want to make sure you're spraying. This is a very kind of a quickish sort of look. My wide tooth comb. Start just pulling it back. I'm not going to bring my comb all the way to the end just because I want to keep some of that curl. We're all going to have to definitely wash our lady's hair. I'll talk about that at the end of this. Bring some more water down at the base. These water things are lovely. It keeps it more of a mist. I got mine at Sally's Beauty. All right, so then you're just gonna basically wet the hair straight down. You don't want to do it too wet. And then you're going to get some gel. I've got a big tub of it because I use a lot of it. You always want to have some baby wipes on hands as well. So I'm just going to take a bit of this and actually I'm going to sanitize my hands really quick, just so I don't. And then I'm just going to dip in here. I usually have a little scooper, but bring that out. So grab some gel. About that's the size of a good toonie. rub it around. That's why you need your baby wipes, and then you're just gonna pull it through. You can kind of take it at the end, scrunch it up a bit. You might want to use a blow dryer if you find that the hair is kind of falling and it's not really staying. Baby wipe. And depending on the severity of like the wet, like how wet you want it, just sort of depends on what, you know, kind of the look you're after. If you're doing a scene where it's kind of a beachy scene and you want super wet hair, then obviously you're gonna add more water and more gel. If you want more of a drier like look, which I'm kind of going for today, you use that, just less. All right, then you're gonna get your hairspray, and you're gonna get your strong hairspray. I'm gonna use my number 9 from my Joico, and I'm gonna spray it, and I'm also gonna start clipping. I have these clips, again, I've showed you them before. They're the clip that has the little protector. I'm gonna use those. So I'm gonna start taking the hairspray and really kind of working it in, and really wanting to make sure that I'm kind of giving that texture. And this is also, you could use some of your beach salt spray as well that we created. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to pop it in, and just make it so that it's going to start to dry like that. This is very helpful to use these pins because they will help it stay. And you also want, again, your extra hold, again, gel and hairspray. And again, you're going to do that on the other side, kind of giving it a bit more texture at the top. Putting these clips in again for just to hold it. And then you would put these in and then send the girl to makeup if you're doing hair, or you do this first and then do makeup so that you could actually make sure that it had actually time to set and hold. Because you don't want to do this for 5 seconds and then take them out, it won't last. And then just kind of make sure you're happy with the way the texture is looking. And you can always hold little pins. Probably not. Use your bodies. And just again, using the hairpins too, just to make sure that things are holding the way you want. Because those are so easy to remove quickly, and you can make sure that you're getting the division of how you want this front part to sit. So the application for this is pretty quick. Now with the bottom part, you can either leave it like that, or you can actually do something like a beach wave. And remember us doing that last time when you're taking the hair and you know, making sure it's cool, it's not too wet, pulling that, and then kind of almost scrunching it up a bit just for more body. If you want more of that look where it's actually kind of coming off her head, like she's moving, you can keep just doing that with your spray and having that sort of look. A little bit more on this side. We need it here. Actually, change this a bit here, like that. And that's sort of the wet look that we're doing. So pretty darn basic, but definitely effective. And if you can imagine if she had a really high contrasting makeup, it's going to actually really kind of make it look very fashion forward and editorial for this look. So that is kind of everything sort of I wanted to touch based on today. So this will be your hair assignment for this week. Again, you can do it on your model, but you can do it on yourself as well. You can do variations of wetness. So if you want kind of a wet, dry look like I did, you can do it that way. If you want to kind of curl the ends and maybe pull them up and create something a little bit more visually pleasing in that way, that's totally fine with me. And then again, makeup, we want high fashion, so we want it really using complementary or split complementary. The colors can be side by side, so you can do an eye that has like 2 eyeshadow combinations, or you can do the eyes and lips. Think about your blushers too. Your blushers can go in there. You can do a neutral lip but with a contrasting black blush to eye, or split complementary. So just think of something that's very eye-catching, and I look forward to marking those for you. Yeah. So, I guess if we have any questions coming in, you can ask me those now. If not, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Zoom, and I will be, I have a conversation planned, and I look forward to sharing that with you tomorrow. I'll also tell you where you can get this wheel, so make sure you remind me to ask, and I will share the link with you. It's very helpful for your kids. All right, so signing off and wishing you all a happy Thursday. See you later.